Nothing beats it. You park the car, meet your friends and begin the long walk. The sun is up. The birds are chirping. You can see it now. Almost there. I followed 3 men towards the golf course this morning. Not unlike 3 men I'd watched the day before. They joined the queue at the gate, had their badges scanned by security, and I just caught their first glimpse of what was hidden behind the trees when they started to embrace. It was the middle one, actually. He threw his arms in the air, grabbed his friends by the shoulders and pulled them tight. Then he laughed and started hollering like Matthew McConaughey in Dazed and Confused. All right, all right, all right. I remember my first time. The long flight from Dublin, the late drive from Atlanta, the crummy motel in Augusta at the bottom of Washington Road. Then the sun came up and my friend Dermot Gillese was leading me into the golf course and almost giddy with excitement. "We'll go straight to Amen Corner," he said. Flowers had never done much for me, but it was a moment on Azealia, the 13th hole at Augusta, that had drawn me to the Masters. It was a Sunday evening in April 1996. We'd been invited to my brother's for dinner and the BBC were showing the final round. I had always considered golf more of a pastime than a sport, a soft and genteel pursuit enjoyed by toffs. But the tension on the 13th fairway as Nick Faldo chopped and changed between a 5-wood and a 2-iron that would secure his 3rd green jacket was sport at its most compelling. I have to start covering golf, I thought. And here I was. Those first 3 days were amazing. I was a complete sponge for the traditions, the Champions Dinner, the par 3 contest, the skipping of the shots across the pond to the 16th green. I was spending 12 hours a day walking the golf course. Then I'd devour all the transcripts at night before going to bed. It was absolutely intoxicating when Thursday came round and I suddenly began to fret. How do I capture all this? What am I going to write? What do I know about golf? I went to bed that night and spent hours staring at the ceiling and listening to the freight trains as they rolled through Augusta. I couldn't sleep. It was an absolute nightmare. And every year I went back it was the same. And then I found a way. You'd find a dark room where no one could see you and take everything you could put your hands on. The media guide. The player's guide. Golf Digest. Golf Magazine. Golf Digest Style. Augusta Magazine. The New York Times. The Augusta Chronicle and its celebrated Masters Supplement. Then you take a pen or a highlighter and lift from the best. Tom Callahan, Rick Riley, Frank DeFord, John Feinstein, Michael Bamberger, Tom Boswell, Dave Kindred, John Hopkins, John Huggin. And by the end of the week, you had a fucking masterpiece. Some called it plagiarism, but I'm with Oscar Wilde. Imitation is the sincerest form of flattery that mediocrity can pay to greatness. It's all changed now. All bloggers and podcasters. We lost to Ford in 2017 and Feinstein last year. Rick Riley became a caddy and Callahan and Huggin retired. But Hoppy and Bambi are still doing it, and there are some great writers still here. Shane Ryan and Joel Beale and Kevin van Valkenburg and the inimitable Eamon Lynch. I'm not known for my sunny disposition, but there was a moment on Tuesday that almost made me smile. It started with a chat with Harry Diamond about the number on his boiler suit. "There you go, Harry," I said. "Number 1 at last. I prefer last year's," he laughed. Then Rory arrived with a word about a book I'd sent him recently about wine called Who's Afraid of Romany Conti. "I had a glass of it last night," he smiled. Then I spotted Faldo. The 6-time major winner and 3 times Masters champion was looking regal in his green jacket and sitting at a table on the lawn with his wife Lindsay, his son Matthew and a friend Simon Jones. I marched over and apologised. "Sorry, just wanted to shake this great man's hand." He smiled and nodded to Jones. "Did you know Paul raced, what was it, 3 Tour de France?" I could not have loved him more. I returned to the press building, convinced the week could not get better. I had some lifting to do from a piece on Scotty Scheffler and took a printout and some papers to the room, but another writer had beat me to it. He jumped up to close the door, but I'd seen what he was lifting. The Masters Journal. Rory, his masterpiece. And I could see who had written it.
All right.